Introduced um, Denise Koncelik. She has been with me, working with me for about 7 years now. She's a member of the Order of the Shield. You can read more about that on my website. And She did a wonderful talk with Gene Valonis last year on accordion appetites and how the accordion relates to food. And I've been noticing all the liqueurs that she's been putting up on Facebook, her collection of them, and so I asked her, how does she feel the uh, various dimensions, really numerous dimensions of alcohol, can relate to various textures of the accordion? And so she's going to tell us about it right now. And here is Denise Koncelik.
The Accordion and Alcohol. During the pandemic, I found myself home alone with all of my accordions and a full bar. I think there are some correlations between accordions and alcohol, not just happy hour and cocktail hour, but a combination of sights, sounds, tastes, and blends. The accordionist mixes sounds and songs, and a bartender mixes booze and flavors. Both are mixologists with unique ingredients. There are several ways to pair the accordion and alcohol. One could pair a beverage with a particular type of music. Traditionally, when we think of beer, we would naturally pair it with a polka. Perhaps a nice French wine pairs well with a Parisian waltz. An Italian red wine to accompany a tarantella. Moonshine, bluegrass. Tequila goes well with a salsa or Tejano music. Vodka for music played on a balalaika or maybe some gypsy music. And champagne. Champagne is a must with Auld Lang Syne by Guy Lombardo. There are several ways to compare the accordion and alcohol. Now, each accordion reed could represent a base liquor, or each liquor could represent a reed block. Just as each brand of alcohol has a slightly different taste, so does each accordion have a unique sound. Now, whiskey is dark and mellow, like a bassoon reed. Vodka's rather clear and strong, like a clarinet reed. Gin is a bit lighter and clean, like a slightly higher 8-foot reed or maybe a violin switch. Rum can be a bit more complex, could be light or dark or slightly flavored, like a musette reed. A dry vermouth, light and biting, like a piccolo reed. Now, a cocktail often has one base liquor, similar to a single accordion reed, and one or more added ingredients. So, beverage mixes that are sour or citrus could be represented by a higher reed. So, a whiskey sour could be the bassoon reed with the piccolo reed. Now, as a bartender, mixologist, he or she is pairing alcohols with the mixer. As an accordionist, the musician pairs different reeds and different sounds. So a dry gin martini with vermouth would be the detuned 8-foot reed for the gin or the violin switch, and pair it with the piccolo reed, like the vermouth. A rum and coke could be your bassoon reed, and a musette, sort of dark and bubbly. For more complex cocktails, like a kamikaze, which use more ingredients, you would have to combine more reeds. A clarinet for the vodka, bassoon for the triple sec, and a piccolo for the line. Now, a Long Island iced tea has 5 liquors: vodka, rum, gin, tequila, triple sec, with the little sweet and sour mix and a splash of Coke. So, that would be our master with all reeds to pack an equal sonic punch. Something to think about as you pair your own cocktails and music. Happy pairing. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Denise, and I hope you all learn a lot from this, and you can certainly apply these dimensions to your accordion playing. Um, in most cases, drink and play in moderation, but there'll be those times when you can really, really go full swing. Uh, I can tell a little story about when I was reaching my late teens before I moved up to New York. In Philadelphia, I managed to get the account. I had a small combo. I managed to get the account of all the AA groups in Philadelphia. So I played all their social events, including New Year's Eve. When I'm saying AA, I'm not saying AAA. Uh, I'm saying AA, and it was interesting because of course most of them had a lot of experience with alcohol, and they were able to have a great time and actually get themselves in this particular place of enjoyment that they got when they were consuming alcohol. And the New Year's Eve was as lively as can be. And of course, my parents loved the fact that I was doing this, and especially driving home safely on New Year's Eve. And one slip up the band did. We were playing a medley of songs, and they're dancing a ballad, and all of a sudden we started playing "The Days of Wine and Roses." And of course, they turned around and went, "Whoa!" like that, and but they had a very, very good sense of humor about it. So you're getting two sides. You're getting the alcohol side, and you're getting the non-alcohol side. So the accordion functions in all worlds, and it functions in the alcohol world, and it functions in the non-alcohol world, and you can have a wonderful time. We used to have family gatherings, and of course, one of the reasons why I played I wanted to play the accordion. I was a little concert pianist at age 5, and I would play little recitals, and I would get a nice little applaud and sometimes a pat on the head, and then my uncles would arrive at a party, like family gathering, and with their accordions, and all hell would break loose. Everybody be dancing, having a great time. The beer would be flowing, and I wanted to play the accordion. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to play to begin with. I wanted to be a respectful member of the family, and it certainly was a lot more fun than what I was having before. And so there you have it. Another thing that I used to do, and this all took place in my late teens. I played in an accordion band. A lot of us have, and we used to open shopping centers and strip malls, and I'm saying strip malls, and a lot of outdoor events in parks and so forth. And I just remember the music just falling off the stands, our stands falling down, the wind blowing the music off the stage. Even if we had clothespins on, remember those? And the amplification would start to distort, and it would always create a kind of a havoc. Then we're playing, and all of a sudden someone's picking up their music and trying to get back in where we left off and so forth. Well, Paul Stein is going to give us a talk today on how to play outdoors. Uh, so none of this stuff happens. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Paul Stein.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Stein, and I'm very happy once again to return to Bill's concert workshop seminar series. And today's topic, as I want to do very practical nuts and bolts kind of things for accordionists, today's topic is playing outdoors. And I spent a lot of time in the past year and a couple of months playing outdoors because of the pandemic. But even when there's not a pandemic, I spend a lot of time playing outdoors because I played a lot of protests and demonstrations and marches. But this particular workshop is for everyone. It's for people who are classical accordionists, people who are rock accordionists, people who are protest accordionists, folk accordionists, jazz accordionists. Whatever style of music you play, or multiple styles, once you go outdoors and you're not in your usual indoor venues, whether they're auditoriums or clubs or church assembly halls or churches themselves, you have to forget everything you thought about the venue indoors and reinvent yourself for outdoors. Playing outdoors is extremely different. It's different in terms of the acoustics. It's different in terms of the heat and cold and possible precipitation. It's different in terms of the lighting. It's different in terms of the seating. It's different in terms of possible interruptions. So I only have about 10 minutes or so to speak today. I could talk on this subject and take questions for over an hour. So I'll try to hit some of the high points, and hopefully I won't leave out too much. First of all, venue acoustics. If you're outdoors, and I'm not talking about if you're at Summer Stage at Central Park or the Naumburg band shell, where you have a real stage, you may have a backdrop to the stage. In a band shell, you even have a hard surface behind you. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where you and maybe a few bandmates, without the benefit of a sponsoring organization providing sound and providing a sound setting, that you have to be responsible yourself for how you sound. So you're out in the open somewhere, no ceiling to reflect sound, no floor to reflect sound, no walls to reflect sound. Now we all know that sometimes the reflections in the room can give you a sound that's not very good. But in general, when you have an enclosed space you're playing in, the enclosure itself reflects sound and amplifies sound, and hopefully not into unpleasant a way, and therefore people can hear you. When you're outdoors, most of that goes by the board. So if you're setting up outdoors in a particular location, let's say it's in a park, or let's say it's in a playground, for example, or outside a restaurant on the sidewalk, look for a wall to play in front of. If you have a wall behind you, it could be a glass window, it could be cement. I played with the band I'm in, Filthy Rotten System, for Make Music New York in Fort Independence Park in the Bronx. And the people who are organizing that, they did bring a decent small sound system, but they set it up in front of a small structure there where the sound could be reflected off of the structure and provide a backdrop. So look for a wall or the side of a structure to play in front of. And chances are you're going to need some sort of amplification. I know the accordion's very loud. We all know it can be very loud. But once you get outdoors, the outdoors eats sound. So you should be very aware that chances are you're going to need amplification. Chances are you will not, or very likely you won't have an outlet to plug into. So you will need some sort of battery amplifier or bring some sort of battery setup for your regular amplifier in order to give yourself a loud enough sound for the outdoors in that venue. You'll need to bring a mic. And if you're using a microphone and you're outdoors, you have to be aware of the possibility of wind and wind interfering with the mic. So you need a windscreen for the microphone, very important. You need a heavy stand, preferably rather than a light stand, because you'd be surprised how little wind can blow over a lightweight mic stand. And you can put, if you have a lightweight mic stand, or even if you have a heavier one, you can put weights on it. You could put a sandbag, you could put a weight for weightlifting on the bottom. So you have to keep all those things in mind because you're outdoors. You have to keep in mind that if you're outdoors, there's ambient sound. If you're in a park, maybe you'll be protected from the streets and the highway. If you can, stay away as far away as you can from streets and traffic. In other words, if you have to be in front of a restaurant, you don't want to be right at the curb. You want to be back against the restaurant. And again, you get the reinforcement from the wall of the restaurant. You want to be away from other musicians, and that's can often be a problem, that it was your thought or someone's thought to have you play in the park and other people were playing in the park. So position yourself as much as possible away from other musicians. And even more difficult than other musicians are people having a good time in the park with a boombox. And big, loud boomboxes are so plentiful and relatively cheap these days that that's a real problem. I was playing for a small vigil a couple of weeks ago, and I went to the location on a day when I usually don't play at that location. And what did I find there but a religious group with a loud, extremely unpleasant sounding PA system preaching to everybody in the street and all the cars passing by. Fortunately, I was very lucky that it started to drizzle some after about 20 minutes. And I went across the street, but that still wasn't good. It started to drizzle, and they packed up their little PA system. So I had the location to myself, and I had an umbrella on a mic stand over my head so I could play with a little bit of drizzle. But again, it can be a real problem. You have to figure out how to stay away from other sources of speech or music. And sometimes you could just possibly negotiate with the other people to spell each other. In other words, you play for 15, they play for 15 or something like that. But you have to keep that in mind. Weather, real problem. It can be very hot. It can be very cold. It can be raining. It can be snowing. And hopefully before you went out your front door, you looked at the weather forecast and prepared for it. If it's very cold outside, you should be dressed warmly. You should wear a coat, wear a hat, no matter how dorky the hat looks, you should wear a warm hat. Fingerless gloves, regular gloves for when you're not playing, and chemical hand warmers, those things that you crush them and they warm up. That's very important. I put them inside my fingerless gloves. And this is all again for the cold weather. And one other thing, if you're wearing properly a proper coat, it's going to be sort of thick. Before you leave your house, you should put your accordion on and adjust the accordion straps to fit over the heavy duty coat. People often forget that, and then it takes a while outside to get set up. Okay, so adjust the straps before you leave. If it's very hot outside, of course you should bring a lot of water, preferably a battery fan, or if there's a plug-in place, a plug-in fan, an umbrella. And the umbrella, if you should have a heavy-duty music stand with some weights that you can attach the umbrella to. So if there's a little bit of precipitation, you can play under the umbrella. And you can also lightly tape and use gaffer tape or painter's tape, not Gorilla tape, which might not be good for your accordion. You can tape some plastic over, thin plastic over the accordion, and it will not muffle very much of the sound at all. Sunscreen, if you're susceptible to getting sunburned, it's always a good idea to use sunscreen. And last but not least, and I've forgotten this sometimes and regretted it, especially if you have a black colored accordion, but any color accordion, you want to, and you're going out in the sun and you may not be in the shade at all, you want to bring some aluminum foil to put on top of it to reflect the sun off, because you would be amazed how quickly, especially a black accordion, can get hot. And remember, your reeds are held in place by wax, and you wouldn't want to cause yourself to need an expensive reed rewaxing because you forgot to protect the accordion from the heat outside. So that's the weather. In terms of lighting, there are two things you have to keep in mind in terms of lighting. And again, we're assuming there is no light. You could be under a street light in the park or on the street or something like that. But assuming there is no artificial light that's available to you, you need light for two things. You would like the audience to see you, although it's not absolutely essential. It's nice if they can see you. And also, if you have any notes, or if you have a set list, or if maybe, depending upon what kind of music you're playing, you may need the lyrics, or you may need, more importantly, or just as importantly, you may need a lead sheet or a completely written out score for what you're playing. And if you don't have light, you're in deep trouble. So always bring a music stand light. I suggest a battery music stand light with extra batteries. Anything that needs batteries should have an extra set of batteries. And in terms of people there, if it's possible to plug in and you have access to it, you could bring a truss with some lights on it, or you could bring just a T-bar with a few lights on it. And you can even use lights that are very cheap that you can get at a big box store. You can get lights that are at a big box store, and it won't be very expensive if you want the audience to be able to see you and there is no light in the location. It's good to have one light on the left side and one on the right side, but if you can only have one, that's still fine from one side. Whatever you do, don't put the light right in front of you. I've even seen it at a major venue where they had to provide their own lighting. This wasn't some group of inexperienced musicians. It was someone doing lights and sound. They put a light stand right in the middle of the stage and blocked a lot of people's view of the artist, and you don't want to do that. Last but not least, seating. If you're outdoors and it's been advertised, perhaps people will bring folding chairs with them, which is always good. If possible, if you're in a park or maybe even in part of a playground, if there's a slope and people can sit on a slope, and you can set up at the bottom of the slope, then it makes it, especially if it's on grass that it would be comfortable to sit on, it would be a good setup so people can see you. And I said that was last, but I was wrong. Last but not least, keep in mind the pandemic. Keep in mind that many of us are still wearing masks. And if you're singing without a mask, and most people these days are singing without a mask, I would urge you to keep very far from your audience in an overabundance of caution, even though you're outdoors. In other words, if the normal distancing is 6 feet, try to stay around 12 feet from the audience when you're singing, because when you're singing, you're projecting air and whatever's in the air in your throat, in your mouth, much further than if you are not saying anything or just speaking. So that's the story. Playing outdoors is very different from playing indoors. You have to prepare for the venue acoustics, for the weather, for the ambient noise, for the lack of lighting, for where your audience is going to sit. And again, while we're in the pandemic, you need to take appropriate precautions to protect yourself and to protect your audience. Have fun playing outdoors.
Yes, and I understand Paul has one more thing to say. So let's hear that. Paul Stein.
Hello again. Here are 2 additional tips that did not make it into the original video. 1, The beach and the accordion do not mix. Salt water, air, and sand are very harmful to the reeds of your accordion and may also damage the finish. So if you have to play a beach or boardwalk gig, hopefully you'll be able to use an accordion that is not your best instrument, that won't be as much to worry about. Two, if you're playing outdoors using amplification, and you very may well want to, it's best to use an accordion that has internal condenser microphones, which you, in fact, may not have. But the advantage of the internal condenser microphones is they're not as sensitive to ambient outdoor noises, and also they're not as sensitive to wind rustling past your accordion. That's it. Enjoy your outdoor gig.
Thanks for that advice, Paul. I did so many shore points during my professional life, starting when I was a child all the way up to only a few years ago. And, in a few cases, I made the mistake by using my best accordion. And yes, it ended up in the shop afterwards. And so that's really, really good advice. And I'm glad that you added that as a coda. Oh, okay. Now let's hear some music. To continue what Denise started with Accordion and Alcohol, here's a song that she had written called Pandemic Cocktails, which she, of course, will sing along with Bob Goldberg. So let's hear it, Pandemic Cocktails.
Pandemic cocktails. Measure up, mix 'em up, drink 'em up. Pandemic cocktails. Served each day of the year. Bourbon for when the weather is cold. Whiskey, just make sure that it's old. Scotch can be a pleasure to try. Don't forget to stock up on rye. Good morning, vodka. Hello to gin. Afternoon wine until evening sets in. Pandemic cocktails. Measure up, mix 'em up, drink 'em up. Pandemic cocktails. Served each day of the year. Pandemic cocktails. Measure up, mix 'em up, drink 'em up. Pandemic cocktails. Served each day of the year. Sherry for your mother, she's old. Cognac for your father, I'm told. Tequila for your sister, I hear. Brother always drinks up the beer. Rum can be tasty. Vermouth is dry. Any martini is something to try. Pandemic cocktails. Measure up, mix 'em up, drink 'em up. Pandemic cocktails. Served each day of the year. Bring another one here. They will bring you good cheer. Have another one, dear. Low on mixers, I fear. Served each day of the year.
Wow. Coffee is my drug of choice, but after that song, I don't know. I may start drinking. Uh, so, pandemic cocktails. The group Bachtopus, which is an accordion quartet, also has a commissioning program. And so they're, I believe they've commissioned up to 7 people right now to write a work for accordion quartet. And we're going to hear 2 of them. One of them is actually written by Will Holzhauser, who we heard yesterday, and the other one by Denise Koncelik. Bachtopus consists of Peter Flint, Gene Valonis, Bob Duncan, and Mayumi Miyoka. And so let's hear Scintillation by Will Holzhauser, performed by the accordion quartet Bachtopus. Bravo, bravo. And now let's hear the other commission, Hymn by Denise Koncelik. Beautiful work. Beautiful work. Performed by Bachtopus. Very interesting. I recommend anyone who is starting a new group, make sure that the name of your group has a very recognizable and really, really good title. And I remember hearing on WQXR FM, the classical music radio station, there was a week of Bach played by all these wonderful early music groups, from all over, even from England. They were coming over for a big week Bach fest, and they simply said over the air, all the great early music groups are going to be taking part, and then they said, including an accordion quartet called Bachtopus, and they were the only group that actually were mentioned by name. So really, in terms of getting noticed today, it's very, very important. Is make sure your title is catchy, and make sure that you perform well. And so, in this particular case of Bachtopus, they have two things going for them. And so, thank you. They were wonderful commissions. Now, to continue our conceptual arts section, I asked a number of composers to write conceptual pieces for me. What are they? Sometimes it's just a few words that I interpret. Sometimes it's a graph. Sometimes it's something poetic. And the first one I'm going to do is by Milica Paranosic. She's Serbian. She's a composer, a filmmaker, and a DJ. And she sent me Twilight, when the walls between the world and the next, this world and the other, these worlds and those worlds become paper thin and float in between. Twilight, when we meet our ancestors and those to whom we will be that. But isn't it all just now? Because that's all we have. Twilight is the new sunlight. And the next piece by Dave Soldier, who's a composer and a neurobiologist. This is a piece, a section from a series of etudes he calls Lewitt Etudes. And this one simply says, play Jailhouse Rock in 3 different keys. So let's do it. And I'll play two more pieces live. The next one by Gene Pritzer, and he's head of Composers Concordance, a group that goes way back, founded by a former student of mine, Pat Hardish. And what he did is he wrote me sort of a mobile of all the pieces that he previously had written for me, where I can pick and choose and do whatever I want with them. Here is that. And the final one by David First. And David gave me, which he wrote for me, a few pages that kind of look like the New York Times jigsaw puzzle. And he allowed me to invent a series of tropes, little scale-like figures. I can invent them myself and play them in the patterns that he had given me. And so this piece is called Revolution Tropes for Bill. David First. Those were the Revolution Etudes for Bill. And these are all conceptual pieces. This piece was a graph. The Dave Soldier piece was simply a series of instructions. Milica Paranosic piece was a poem. And Gene Pritzer's was just combinations of all his other pieces that he had written for me. This is something also you can do at home. You can create your own word piece. You can write down some poetic images. You can interpret them. You can draw some interesting graphs, interpret them. This particular style of composing and performing and art actually was part of a movement in the late 50s into the 60s called Fluxus. And actually, Yoko Ono was a member of that particular group. And they were conceptual artists, they called themselves. And later on, composers like Lamont Young, who ended up as one of the first great drone artists, also was involved in it. And later on, composers like Karlheinz Stockhausen and other mainstream modern contemporary avant-garde composers were adapting it into some of their compositions. And so this is one of the types of pieces that you too can try at home. So we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back in 5 minutes, and you now can, I believe, talk amongst yourselves, and I will see you in 5. Read this. Huh? Read this. I don't either.
Bill, why is it black right now?
What?
The back, you're blacking. Do I need more light? No?
I don't think so.
I can bring this around. Huh? What's going on? Move over to your left. No. Dark. Move to your right.
Everyone, welcome Bill.
Okay, we'll start in a minute or two.
Let me just see if I can get.
Oh, we're good.
Hey Lee, hi, it's Bill, Komaiko. I see you there.
Welcome back, and we will begin our concert. I asked everyone to mute yourself, and you'll be able to turn off your mute at the end of the concert, and we can all have a Diet Coke. So we're going to begin the program. You've heard of power chords. Of course, you've heard about them in rock and roll and surfing music. Big fat chords. I know we have them in the accordion also. But we're going to talk now about rapture chords. Rapture chords are chords used in worship. And in many cases, instead of major and minor, which of course they will use, of course hymns use major and minor, but a lot of times when things go into rapture, when they go into that next dimension, diminished and augmented chords will start to appear. And this goes in Baptist ceremonies, Pentecostal ceremonies, anything where rapture takes place. And the accordion is good for that. And we're going to have a version of How Great Thou Art at this particular moment. And using rapture chords, using a small accordion, an accordion organ, played by Lorraine Nelson Wolf, myself on 12 bass accordion and closed mouth singing. And the video was put together by Godfrey Nelson and Lorraine Nelson Wolf. And this is How Great Thou Art. The great old hymn, How Great Thou Art. Uh, Using rapture chords and basically adding diminished, adding augmented chords. Uh, and of course, it doesn't rule out major and minor chords as well. So consider that in your next church gig or worship or any kind of worship gig, and might add a new dimension. You might find yourself in rapture as well. And the next piece is a video by Gene Valonis, and it's called "Gone to Schenectady," and that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like she's going to Schenectady. Gene Valonis.
don't know exactly where I am, but I know how fast I'm going. The cat's in the box and it could be alive. There's only one way to know it. I'm moving to Schenectady. Ha, ha, ha. Schenectady, Schenectady. Ha, ha, ha. Boxes agape and the cat has escaped. Uncertainty is a new plan. I'm moving to Schenectady. Ha, ha, ha. Schenectady will be home to me. Ba, 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 ba. Schenectady. There's room for me in Schenectady. Bum, bum, bum. Pow, 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 pow.
Great. And Gene, I hope you got there. And I hope you didn't have to push the car all the way. I think.
Well, Stein has lost his Zoom and he wants to know if he had a problem.
Okay.
Anyone else looks at it?
Well, let's see. By the way, the accordion was used really, really nicely here because, in a sense, it wasn't the main instrument. Obviously, the voice was, but the accordion in this particular case became another voice, like the second voice. Not even an accompaniment. The guitar was the accompaniment. And so the accordion served as a subordinate voice. Totally unlike How Great Thou Art, where the accordion was a little bit in your face. Those rapture chords kind of go into your face a little bit. Now we're going to hear Twilight Effect. Well, David Stoller on Moog synthesizer. That's one of those old synthesizers that go back a long, long time, one of the first ones. And it's kind of great to have that revived again. And he will be with Elizabeth Azzarelli on viola. And so let's enjoy Twilight Effect. Love that combination, by the way. Moog, accordion, and viola. We're now going to hear a work by Peter Flint, who's a member of Bachtopus. And again, an accordion and electronic work called Precursor. This is Peter Flint. And I understand that's a work in progress. And it's the kind of work you want to hear perhaps, a good part of the day. It sort of gets you into that meditative state. So that's Precursor by Peter Flint. And now we're going to hear that great Thelonious Monk song, Round Midnight. And it will be performed by jazz pianist William Komaiko uh, and myself. And here, the piano will take the main role, and you'll hear the accordion in a shadowed fashion. It's another way to use the instrument. It doesn't always have to sound out front. It doesn't always have to sound in your face. It doesn't always have to use big, thick chords. And it could be very subtle, it could be very shadowed. And so let's listen to that. Round midnight or roundabout midnight. Sometimes they're called by either title by Thelonious Monk, in an arrangement that uses piano and accordion, not accordion and piano. This is piano and accordion. Bill Komaiko and I go back 50 years, maybe even more. We met as students at the Juilliard School, and have remained friends and colleagues ever since. The next performer and composer is a veteran of the seminars. He's been, I believe, in 27 of them, which is, we're up to our 27th year. And he's not an accordionist, he's a flutist, and sometimes an electric flutist. But we're going to hear his piece today called Evolution of the Beat, and it's for accordion and flute. And it's by Lee McClure. Uh, Really, you can hear the evolution of the beat very, very, very clearly in Lee's piece. The next one, which is entitled Seminars 2021 by Doug Makofka, um, is for accordion and ARP synthesizer, also another antiquated synthesizer. And here he's exploring the use of the accordion as a kind of a human synthesizer, and the ARP is kind of an accordion, which is one of those which is which situations. And he is on accordion, and I'm going to ask all of you to guess who the other person is playing the ARP synthesizer. So here is Doug Makofka and company playing Seminars 2021. That is Seminars 2001 by Doug Makofka. And who do you think the other performer is? Well, I'm obviously going to give it away. The other performer was Doug on the ARP synthesizer. And so it sort of, and the piece sort of plays tricks on you. Sometimes don't know who's playing what, and in a few cases I kind of felt that the accordion was the synthesizer, and I kind of find that interesting. And it was great to hear the ARP synthesizer again. It's considered kind of antiquated today, like the Moog, but it can be used in new ways, and I think that's particularly great. And Doug, I know you're from Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, which is has mountains and things of that nature. But if you're going to wear those shorts as you're going hiking, wear some pretty thick boots, because I understand there's timber rattlers up there, and uh, I don't think you'll want to mess with that. And so that's little advice for those who live in Jim Thorpe. Now we're going to hear a work by Denise Koncelik, which she will perform. And this is another work where the text is by Margaret Atwood. We heard one yesterday. And this one is called Song of the Hen's Head. And I think you'll know what that means when you hear this song. Ladies and gentlemen, Denise Koncelik.
After the abrupt collision with the blade, the word. I rest on the wood block, my eyes drawn back into the blue transparent shells like mollusks. I contemplate the word. While the rest of me, which was never much under my control, which was always inarticulate, still runs at random through the grass, a plea for mercy, a single flopping breast, muttering about life in its thickening red voice. Feet and hands chase it, scavengers intent on rape. They want its treasures, its warm rhizomes, enticing sausages, its yellow grapes, its flesh cave, 5 pounds of sweet money, its juice and jelly tendons. It tries to escape, gasping through the neck, frantic. They are welcome to it. I contemplate the word. I am dispensable and peaceful. The word is an O. Outcry of the useless head, pure space, empty and drastic. The last word I said, the word is no.
That poor hen. And sometimes when that happens, they still run around without the head. So I think the meaning of that was quite clear in Denise's delivery, and of course the poem itself. And now we're going to hear Meditation 2 by Dr. Robert Young McMahon. We heard his wonderful talk yesterday on the commission works and how to get into them. Now listen to his own composition, Meditation 2, which he wrote to the victims of COVID-19. Dr. McMahon. Thank you, Bob. It sure captures the mood, and I think we all can agree with that. And the final two numbers will be by Paul Stein, and Paul Stein plays for lots of rallies. Of course, he plays outdoors, as you quite heard him. And he also plays indoors, but a lot of the rallies he plays and protest rallies and so forth takes place outdoors. And one of the things he did is when all this pandemic stuff started, and we were all separating ourselves and so forth, he stood on the steps of his house, and he played the accordion, and obviously everyone in the neighborhood stayed far enough apart where they could enjoy him, and he made life in that area a little more bearable, and gave a lot of pleasure to people, and that's what Paul's all about. And so let's hear two songs of Paul's. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Stein.
This year is the 10th anniversary of the Occupy Wall Street movement. And as an activist musician, I was very involved in it. I wrote a song that was sung and played throughout different Occupy Wall Street locations, especially at Zuccotti Park, known as Liberty Square, and formed a group with Steve Baldwin and sometimes my partner Elena Schwalski called the Occuponics. And our theme song was the Occupy Wall Street song, one of many, but this is our Occupy Wall Street song. We're marching to the beat of Occupy Wall Street. We're here to shout, we've been left out, we're turning up the heat. We're the 99%, our income slashed, our savings spent. Wall Street caused this predicament, so we occupy for change. We're marching to the beat of Occupy Wall Street. We're here to shout, we've been left out, we're turning up the heat. We need jobs, we need healthcare, we need housing and education, simple fairness in our nation, so we occupy for change. We're marching to the beat of Occupy Wall Street. We're here to shout, we've been left out, we're turning up the heat. Greedy bankers steal our money, greedy bosses lay off workers, greedy billionaires pay no taxes, so we occupy for change. We're marching to the beat of Occupy Wall Street. We're here to shout, we've been left out, we're turning up the heat. Wall Street titans take but don't give, Main Street folks don't have enough to live. If you're brown or black, you're pushed to the back, so we occupy for change. We're marching to the beat of Occupy Wall Street. We're here to shout, we've been left out, we're turning up the heat. Punish Wall Street, not the workers. Bail out families, not the bankers. Make jobs, not wars, tax the billionaires. We occupy for change. We're marching to the beat of Occupy Wall Street. We're here to shout, we've been left out, we're turning up the heat. In parks and squares across the land, people are rising hand in hand, so join the movement, take a stand. Occupy for change. We're marching to the beat of Occupy Wall Street. We're here to shout, we've been left out, we're turning up the heat. The second Occupy Wall Street song I wrote was written in sometime before the first anniversary, because I sang it in Liberty Square at the time of the first anniversary, and there happened to be a reporter from the Wall Street Journal there. And I was absolutely tickled that she interviewed me and listened to the song and wrote an article that was published. And she took the last two lines of the chorus as the kicker, or the closing section of her article about the anniversary of Occupy Wall Street. And the words that she quoted, which you will hear shortly, are, No matter how much we're assailed, what we believe cannot be jailed. They can take away our tents, they can ban our sleeping bags, they can banish all our books, rip our banners into rags. They can put us behind bars and enact repressive laws, but no matter what they do, they can't defeat our cause occupies a state of mind, and struggle makes us strong, we find. No matter how much we're assailed, what we believe cannot be jailed. They can seal off every square, they can pen in every park, they can stop us in the streets, make a curfew after dark, they can confiscate our amps to crush speech that they don't like, but they sure can't shut us up, since we are the human mic. Cause occupies a state of mind, and struggle makes us strong, we find. No matter how much we're assailed, what we believe cannot be jailed. We will demonstrate and march, we will paint and sing and write, we will feed our folks good food, do street theater day and night. We will stand up for the people since we know our cause is just. We will be the 99%, no matter who they bust. Cause occupies a state of mind, and struggle makes us strong, we find. No matter how much we're assailed, what we believe cannot be jailed. We protect our precious planet, defend public education. We oppose the justice system's racist mass incarceration. We hold economic fairness and peace to be our right for all workers, immigrants, and students. This is why we fight. Cause occupies a state of mind, and struggle makes us strong, we find. No matter how much we're assailed, what we believe cannot be jailed.
Thank you, Paul. And this brings us to the close of the second installment in the American Accordionists Association Masterclass and Concert Series, the seminars. This is Dr. William Schimmel, and we had a great day. We covered a lot of material, and what we do at the seminars is we always try and find new ways or new takes on old ways to bring to the accordion in every conceivable possible way. And that excites me and excites everyone who takes part in these events. And so now you can unmute yourselves and we can have a little talk. I hope it's many of you. And so